guys would like to take a seat, please go ahead. We're getting ready to get started very shortly. Lieutenant Governor, the Attorney General, we're going to grab you guys all and come on stage. They're pretty stairs in the front, so I apologize about that. Delegate back, we're going to have you stand here. Delegate through, we're going to have you stand right here. And then, oh, right behind me. I'm going to have you stand right here next to Emily. And the First Lady especially. And then Delegate Murphy, we're going to have you right here next to Delegate Simons. And then Delegate Delaney, we're going to have you right next to Delegate Batten. And then Lieutenant Governor, we'll have you. We're going to have you. I was pregnant with my son. And then there you go.
Yeah, right. Right.
I know. So it's just in a large round. So all you have to do is just step up like this. Hey, how are you?
Hey.
Wait, are we going to school?
They told us where to stand.
I think you're on the
Yeah. Let's be over here.
I want to make sure I'm standing right.
Oh, I just. No, that's not the sign. Yeah.
pretty much.
But are we supposed to stand?
That is the slot.
No. She does. Yeah, we're in.
Oh, is that what we're supposed to do? You're here.
Yeah.
Well, I made it adjustment for short people.
Yeah.
We'll let you
So I'm going to swap these out, and then we're going to try and do her bill last and post it by the time, and whenever she gets here, we'll just have her come up this side of the stage.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so we're going to have, when she comes in, we're going to have her come and stand right by you. Yeah, this is perfect. This will be fine because he actually will.
Oh, yeah.
She's the one, so.
It doesn't matter whether.
He'll come prior.
It's not worse out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here today. Before we begin, I would like to invite the Governor and the First Lady of Virginia to join us here on stage. Please join me in welcoming the 74th Governor of the Commonwealth, Governor Youngkin, and the First Lady. Mr. Secretary. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. We are honored to have the Governor and the First Lady, the Lieutenant Governor, the Attorney General, and all of you here with us for this important event as we mark another step towards eradicating human trafficking in the Commonwealth. Now, through this commission that's been put together to prevent human trafficking, it's a bipartisan effort and we're going to be moving forward today to sign legislation for that. To begin, we have the privilege of hearing from Susan Young, a mother of a survivor whose family knows all too well the crippling devastation of human trafficking. Susan, if you would join us.
Good afternoon, Governor Youngkin, First Lady, Lieutenant Governor Sears, Attorney General Meares, and Secretary Mosier. It is an honor to speak to you today and to represent the victims and families of trafficking. I thank you for the opportunity to work with you and to serve the citizens of our Commonwealth. 10 years ago, the trajectory of my life and my family's life changed forever as a result of the trafficking of our eldest daughter. This event, forever etched in our hearts and minds, we often find ourselves trying to forget and forgive those who stole our children's innocence. This is a fight the Young family still battles 10 years later. The tragic events that our daughter, children, and family endured seemed endless. As the days, months, and years passed, the pain seemed relentless. But as a phoenix rises from the ashes, our family too has grown to realize that we serve a higher purpose. Our purpose is to help others who find themselves in a similar situation, and to offer support, guidance, and understanding, but most importantly, hope. Through our experience, I have acquired a unique perspective regarding how trafficking affects both victims and families. I've learned to navigate and to find the resources needed to aid both victims and families. In doing so, and working with esteemed colleagues and partners and our government leaders, we've been able to identify gaps in the healthcare industry, judicial system, academia, law enforcement, and other areas necessary for helping both victims and families. The prospect of change and the future availability of services provide light in the darkness, permitting victims and their families to rise from the ashes through recovery. Governor Youngkin, First Lady, Lieutenant Governor Sears, Attorney General Meares, and Secretary Mosier, as well as countless others, are fighting to change the Commonwealth's trajectory towards eradicating human trafficking. I believe Virginia and its leadership have the ability at both state and federal levels to set industry standards and precedents, and ultimately to fight human trafficking head on. As a result, the Commonwealth can establish criteria and support services for victim and family care, providing the vital resources needed for recovery. Today's commission marks the day the voices of trafficking victims and their families are heard by leadership. Their pain has not gone unnoticed or in vain. Today, they regain a vital part of their identity, an identity that was once stripped away. It is an honor to stand before you and to represent those whom this commission will help. I am proud to be a Virginian, and I am hopeful for what the future holds for this great Commonwealth. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce Attorney General Meares.
You know, the governor and lieutenant governor and I, we often talk about those quiet heroes that do so much. And this bill and this legislation and this commission that really is recognizing those that are at the front line. When I was in Danville, I had a chance to meet with some folks that were in a shelter for both domestic violence and those that are survivors of human trafficking. And I asked them, what's it like for the individuals that are coming through these doors? And so one of the victims said it's like being in a storm in an ocean, drowning, and you're the life preserver. So I want to recognize all the life preservers that have done so much at the front line, groups like the Safe House Project and others that have been there. I got to meet Susan on the campaign trail, and her story just resonated. It happens in every community, in every corner, but I don't think there's ever been a governor, and he said this when he was a candidate and now as governor, has ever been as passionate and as dedicated, both publicly and in our private meetings, at eradicating the scourge of human trafficking, because we all look at this as, and what makes it so particularly hideous, it's a multi-generational impact crime. It impacts the victim and impacts their future relationships. And what's so hideous about it is so often the victims don't even view themselves as being trafficked. They get trapped in such a horrific cycle. And so this is something that we've come together, Republicans and Democrats, to recognize what it is, and then we're going to put together the resources and the training necessary. And I think this legislation, this commission, is the first step to, I think, is going to be a very successful mission in our office, the governor's office, and the lieutenant governor's office, in eradicating, I think, one of the absolute most heinous, horrific crimes that we see in the Commonwealth. I want to thank the governor, and particularly the quiet heroes that are here today, recognizing that we're standing arm in arm to eradicate this from our beloved Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll introduce the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia.
Yes, sir.
Madam Lieutenant Governor.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for coming. We met when the governor had a press conference during the campaign, and we heard your story, and it was so heart-wrenching to hear that your family was almost destroyed through this terrible, terrible act. And as a former homeless shelter director for women, I saw some of that, and we had to provide so much in therapy and to try to bring the women back to understand that that wasn't love. When you're used and abused, that's not what true love looks like. And that was 20-some years ago, and of course it's still happening, and it's unfortunate, but the governor and members of our General Assembly have gotten together, along with our Attorney General, who has this new department that's going to help with that massively. And there's a verse in Psalm 31, verse 8, and it says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, ensure justice for those being crushed." And surely these are the people, the women and men and children, who are being trafficked either commercially, sexually, or abused for labor purposes as well. And sometimes it's not just a friend, it's family. Your own family, you're not safe. So thankfully, we have the legislation that's going to help. And of course, you've already heard, this is not a political issue. This is a human issue. It's a heart issue. So we thank everyone for coming together. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Governor, for leading the charge, Madam First Lady. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. So now we have the honor of hearing from our First Lady, and I want to thank you for your heart and dedication to this issue. I said it briefly when the First Lady came up on stage, her passion and commitment to those that have suffered. So thank you, First Lady of Virginia. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Mosier. Thank you, everyone, for being here, all our elected officials. Susan, thank you so much. You know, Glenn prioritized. It was the very first thing he did when he launched his campaign. He prioritized eradicating human trafficking in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's a very lofty goal, and it's a very serious goal. One of the beautiful things that Glenn and I shared prior to this amazing experience in public service was focusing our philanthropy on issues that were near and dear to our heart, and human trafficking was a bullseye issue for us. We were specifically focused on eradicating illicit massage parlor networks, really speaking into the problems with financing those networks, etc. But now we realize that's only one very, very small sliver of the ways that human beings are locked into a cycle of suffering through trafficking. So we are so excited about what today means for the Commonwealth of Virginia and for all of the beautiful citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia and for our wonderful partners in this initiative. We sit right on the I-95 corridor, and unfortunately that makes us particularly vulnerable. I also want to digress and say one other very personal thing. When Susan Young spoke at our campaign event, I remember sitting there and listening to her testimony. She did not say where she lived. She said she lived in Northern Virginia. And I remember thinking in the back of my mind, I cannot believe this activity is happening to a family, a mother, that I am sitting right here able to touch and feel. And I can't believe it's happening in Northern Virginia. And Susan and I had a very brief conversation after. And I did the very probably inappropriate thing, but I said, would you mind sharing with me, Susan, where you live? And when she told me, I realized that Susan Young and Suzanne Youngkin lived 1.5 miles apart. I was shocked. I was saddened. I was horrified. And I knew that God had put all of us, Susan and the other advocates that were there, in that place, in that moment of time, for a very specific reason. So thank you. Thank you for your investment in this. Every single one of you will make a meaningful impact. And I am so proud of my husband for prioritizing this and for being a catalyst for change for good, change for glory. So without further ado, please welcome the 74th Governor of the Commonwealth, Glenn Youngkin.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the First Lady for constantly making us better. And I want to thank everyone here who represents so many across the Commonwealth that can't be here, not because they don't want to, but they don't have a voice. And we together give them a voice. It's such an honor to be here with Secretary Mosier. Secretary Mosier has a deep passion to eradicate human trafficking. He's worked on it over his entire career. Attorney General Miyares and Lieutenant Governor Sears and I have a commitment between the three of us that from early days, traipsing across the Commonwealth, to identify opportunities to eradicate human trafficking. I want to thank all of our colleagues, our partners from our legislature. Thank you. Thank you for a heart for those that need a voice but also need to be rescued. And I want to thank everyone who has volunteered. I will tell you, when we announced the human trafficking and prevention survivor support effort around a commission, we were overwhelmed with people across the Commonwealth of Virginia who selflessly wanted to put their hand up. And I want to thank all of you for being willing to do so. Suzanne already commented on the just emotional moment when you hear a story like the one a mother, Susan Young, can tell, where her daughter was ripped from their family. Her daughter was trapped, and then her family was threatened. It's an extraordinary story that, oh, by the way, is not inordinary. It happens right here in the Commonwealth. Today, in Fairfax County, in illicit massage parlors, 500 women will be trafficked. Today, while we stand here. Friends, this is a moment for us. It's a moment for us to do something that is beyond the partisan nature of government, to do something that in fact will impact the lives of people forever. And that's not to reduce human trafficking. That's not to take a goal and say we're going to reduce it by 10%. It's to eradicate it. There's no other goal. Because if you strive for less, you'll achieve nothing. And that's why we together use that word eradicate. Because that's the objective. It's not an easy one. It's a hard one. John Kennedy said, we do these things not because they're easy, but because they are hard. We have to do this. So today, we have the great privilege of signing legislation that is part of the step along this most difficult path. Legislation that was brought from folks from the House, from folks from the Senate, from Republicans, from Democrats, bringing people together to move forward in enhancing our legal framework to combat human trafficking. But it's more than that. We need to combat human trafficking in multiple ways. We have to enhance our legal framework. We have to better equip law enforcement. We actually have to train teachers and parents to see what's happening, and we must rescue men and women and children. Yes, you're right, Lieutenant Governor, who are being trafficked, and then we must help them regain their rightful lives so that they too can experience the Virginia promise. This is the comprehensive way that we eradicate human trafficking. That's why I'm so excited about today. I want you to know that part of this is a focus on tracking down, arresting, and prosecuting those that participate in the trafficking and in the procurement of human lives. We will find you. We will arrest you. We will prosecute you. And we will get you off the streets. This is our commitment. Together, we can do this. What's happened historically is human trafficking has always been an issue of passion, but it's been one that has been diffused in execution. And this is our chance with the great work from this commission, the commitment from so many people in this room, from law enforcement, from our Attorney General's office, from Commonwealth's attorneys, from nonprofit organizations all over the Commonwealth, from individual passion to bring it all together and make a difference. Divided, we will fail. United, we will win. This is our chance. There are too many nonprofits to name because there's so many people doing extraordinary work. But what I ask you to do is take this moment and plug in. That's the role of our commission, to give everyone a landing spot so that we can comprehensively utilize the extensive efforts across the Commonwealth and make them work together. Again, when we do this, we can bring the amazing power of one individual that has a vision and a passion, and multiply it across this Commonwealth in a way that we will see human trafficking eradicated. There's a number of people who are here today that I just want to acknowledge. First, I want to take a moment and talk about Tanya Gould. And for those of you that do not know her, she is an extraordinary spokesperson. She's a victim. She's a survivor. And by the way, she is a leader in how we are all going to come together. She is working in the Attorney General's office. And I know that Attorney General Miyares is incredibly grateful for her commitment. And so I just want to thank Tanya for all the work that she does. With us today also are our State Trafficking Response Coordinator, Angela Alvernes. Angela, where are you? There you are. Angela stepped in to play a coordinating role that is most important. Again, how do we bring together the resources so that we can have focused execution? Thank you. Colonel Settle of the Virginia State Police is with us. Major Karen Sterling, who leads the new human trafficking unit at the Virginia State Police. And I want to thank you, Colonel Settle, for prioritizing human trafficking and then resourcing with such extraordinary expertise that allows us to bring the extensive capabilities and intelligence network of our state police to bear on this horrific issue. What happens when we bring together the resources across the Commonwealth of Virginia is we speak with a very loud voice and we can overcome anything. Anything. If you haven't noticed, this is a priority. This is a priority. And I will tell you, one of the things that I am so encouraged by is Virginians can do anything. And Virginians together are going to eradicate human trafficking. Now, the bills we're going to sign today are a great step along the way. They cover a variety of very important initiatives, from educating hotel staff on what to look for. Imagine that you can see things when you work at a hotel that others don't, and you need to know what to look for and what to do. We're going to start by making sure that we are equipping police. We're going to have law enforcement. We're going to have the community. We're going to have teachers and parents. And we're going to have survivors. This is what it's going to bring. So, as I am extremely excited to do, is to sign bills that were brought together in a bipartisan fashion by a legislature that is absolutely maniacally focused on this common goal of eradicating human trafficking. So let's go to work.
Twice. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah. It's very clear.
Good seeing you again.
So the first bill we're going to sign is House Bill 258. Everybody okay? Jump in here. Come on. Delegate Simons, patron this bill. Co-patron by Delegate Murphy. Also by Mark Keene. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This bill directs the Department of Criminal Justice Services to develop an online course to train hotels and their employees to recognize and report instances of suspected human trafficking. What a great idea. What a great idea. Awesome. I am just so proud to sign this. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. So next we're going to sign two bills. They're companion bills. First is House Bill 283. It was patroned by Delegate Brewer. And Senate Bill 467 that was patroned by Senator Vogel. Co-patrons, Delegate Carrie Delaney, and 30 members of the General Assembly signed on as co-patrons of this bill. 30. There was no confusion about the fact that this bill was going to get done. These bills require the Department of Criminal Justice Services to establish training standards for law enforcement personnel regarding the recognition, prevention, and reporting of human trafficking. And Secretary Mosier, I know you're ready to go to work here. That pen's empty. Go this direction. Thank you. Amazing work. Awesome. That's it. Perfect. Thank you. Next is House Bill 526. It's patroned by Delegate Batten. Thank you. There you are. Thank you for this. This bill provides that a non-Virginia student who is currently present in the Commonwealth as a result of being a victim of human trafficking is eligible for in-state tuition. This goes in the package of getting lives back and providing opportunity and a future. So thank you. Next is House Bill 711, patroned by Delegate Mark Keene. This bill removes the liability of payment of fees for filing a petition of a writ of vacatur for victims of sex trafficking, which allows for certain related convictions to be vacated and for the police and court records to be expunged. Delegate, thank you. Yeah, amazing. Thank you. House Bill 1334, patroned by Delegate Kathleen Murphy. This bill has 7 co-patrons, including Delegate Simons, who's with us today. Thank you. This bill amends the definition of abused and neglected child to include a child who is sexually exploited or abused by an intimate partner of the child's parent or caretaker, and allows a complaint of child abuse or neglect to be deemed valid by a local department of social services. This gets to, if you commit, we're going to come find you if you commit these crimes, and thank you for making it easier to do so.
Thanks for signing the bill.
Amazing. Finally, although we're looking forward to doing this again after the next session, this is House Bill 1023, excuse me, patroned by Delegate Guzman. This bill permits, this bill had 9 co-patrons, including Delegate Simons again, who was with us. This bill permits any family life education curriculum offered by a local school division in high school to incorporate age-appropriate elements of effective and evidence-based programs on the prevention, recognition, and awareness of human trafficking of children. One of the things we must do is equip parents, classmates, and teachers to see the signs and then make sure they know what to do. Thank you. Amazing. Wow. This is a big step, but we've got a lot of steps to take. And so we're going to take a few pictures, and then we're going to, Madam Secretary, swear in our commission, and we're going to work. And together, we will eradicate human trafficking. Thank you all very, very much. Okay.
Thank you, Governor. And members of the Assembly, Secretary James, could you come up and join us at the podium with members of the Commission? And the Commission.
Absolutely. Have the Commission join us. As they are arriving on stage, I want to add my voice to those to thank you for coming into public service and the taking of the